you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and welcome to the West Asia Coast. I'm Radi Francis coming to you from Beirut, Lebanon, and this is WION's weekly show where we bring you all the latest, the world's most volatile region. Rescue workers continue their search for victims and bodies trapped under the rubble. Here in Lebanon, Israel intensified its airstrikes on hospitals, cultural heritage sites, residential buildings. And it is not only in Lebanon. Syrians and the Palestinians are bracing themselves for a harsh winter. We get you the latest. Israel is celebrating Donald Trump's victory to the White House. The billboards say, "Make Israel great again." The declared winner of the US presidential polls have time and again promised peace and to put an end to the war in the region. Now Hamas has called on Donald Trump to end Washington's blind support for Israel. In the coming report, we ask, would the new US administration put an end to the war?
Many in Israel feel Donald Trump's last term in the White House was supportive of the Jewish state. In his first term as the US president, the Republican leader moved the US embassy to Jerusalem. recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights and pushed through the Abraham Accords. It was also under the Trump administration that the US pulled out of Iran's nuclear deal. No wonder then, after Trump's return to the Oval Office, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was one of the first leaders to congratulate Donald Trump, calling Trump's victory the greatest comeback in history. There was no shortage of celebrations on the streets either, with billboards congratulating the US president-elect and signs that read, "Make Israel Great Again."
I think it's good for Israel, yeah, no doubt. It's better than Kamala Harris, but it's very good for Israel because he proved the last time he was a president, he moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and everything that he said, he did. Yeah, so it's good for Israel, no doubt.
But the displaced Palestinians in war-torn Gaza don't think Donald Trump will do much for their cause.
He and Kamala Harris is the same as administration. Their enemy and hostility against the Palestinian people and against the Palestinian issue is fixed, will not change. And don't forget that he is the first one who confessed with Jerusalem as a capital for the Israeli, and he transferred the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And don't we as Arab, as a Palestinian, will not be naive enough. We have to deal with them as an enemy. We have to determine who's the enemy. They are enemy.
The Hamas group called on Trump and his administration to end Washington's support to Israel. The Palestinian militant group said its stance on Trump will depend on his actions and policies towards the Palestinians. As president, Trump will confront a volatile West Asia that is gradually descending into a broader regional conflict. Israel is fighting wars in Gaza and Lebanon while facing off against arch-foe Iran. And Yemen's Houthis keep up their attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Time and again on his campaign trail, Trump has promised he will end the war in no time.
You can have peace in the Middle East, but not with the clowns that you have running the U.S. right now. You're going to have peace. You're going to have peace in the Middle East.
As per an Israeli media report, Trump has told Netanyahu to quickly wrap up the ongoing war in Gaza before he takes his seat in the Oval Office.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing heat after firing Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, crippled by anger, protests, and disruptions in the street. Now the opposition is calling for the Prime Minister out. In the following report, we ask, would this administrative change affect Netanyahu's war plan in Gaza?
There is anger on the streets of Israel over Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to sack his defense minister, Yoav Gallant. Netanyahu claimed he has lost all confidence in Gallant over the management of Israel's wars in Gaza and Lebanon.
The breach of trust between myself and the defense minister has become public, and this breach prevents the campaign from being managed properly. It's just not me who's saying this. Most government ministers and cabinet members, nearly everyone, share the feeling that we cannot continue in this way. In light of this, I decided today to end the term of the defense minister.
Across the country, the move sparked protests, including a mass gathering that paralyzed central Tel Aviv. Israeli officers mounted on horses fired tear gas to disperse the crowds in cities of Haifa, Nahariya, and in Jerusalem, close to Netanyahu's residence. Protesters expressed dismay, saying that firing Gallant endangers the Israeli people and the country.
He put us into a situation that endanger all Israel, not only the people in the south and the people in the north. He's endangering all Israel, and we are not going to let him do that. It's time to understand that Bibi has to step down from his office and to let serious people to lead Israel into the problem that he was creating.
Gallant called his removal a result of disagreement on 3 issues, including his belief that Israel can get back the remaining hostages from Gaza if it makes painful concessions which it can bear.
This dismissal comes as a result of disagreements over 3 issues. The first, my decisive position that everyone who is of draft age must be drafted, must serve in the IDF and defend the State of Israel.
Israeli opposition leaders stepped up their rhetoric against Netanyahu, calling him unfit and illegitimate to serve the country.
The sacking of Defense Minister Gallant yesterday is an act of madness by an unfit Prime Minister. In the midst of a war, while Israel is fighting 7 fronts, Netanyahu has weakened and harmed the IDF and the fighting forces only to pass the draft-dodging laws.
Netanyahu and Gallant have for long had a divisive working relationship. All through this year, reports of shouting matches between the 2 men over Israel's war strategy had become public. Gallant repeatedly urged Netanyahu to reach a deal to free the remaining hostages in Gaza. A member of Netanyahu's Likud party, Gallant had been defense minister since 2022. Before the war, he had notably clashed with Netanyahu over his legislation to overhaul the Israeli judiciary. Gallant's exit is seen to have a potentially wide-ranging impact on Israel's multi-front wars and its relationship with the US. Gallant was seen as the anchor of the association with the US. Last month, Gallant's trip to US was cancelled hours before his departure after Netanyahu reportedly set last-minute conditions for approving it. Israeli Prime Minister replaced Gallant with close ally Israel Katz to lead the country's war in Gaza and Lebanon. Katz, an ally of the Prime Minister, is unlikely to stand in the way of Netanyahu's approach on ceasefire talks. Observers say that Katz is also expected to align with the Prime Minister when it comes to deciding how long to fight in Gaza and Lebanon, and how to respond to threats from Iran.
Let us talk about the ground I'm currently standing in. The exchange of strikes between the Israeli forces and Lebanon's Hezbollah refuses to die down. In the recent and first of its kind, Israel is hit by rockets at the Ben Gurion International Airport. And on the other side, Israel is hitting Lebanon in the southern outmost villages, in Baalbek, in Sidon, in Beirut. Hezbollah says there is no ceasefire before Israel ends the war. We get to the latest in this report.
While the world was watching the outcome of the US presidential elections, Lebanon was under Israeli fire.
Well, as Donald Trump took that stage, the drones are back in the sky. I'm not sure if you can hear that buzzing sound, but it's very, very clear here in Beirut. So with him saying that he's going to stop the war, there is a genuine optimism here that this buzzing sound is going to stop going forward. The war is going to stop.
As Lebanon's capital of Beirut faced Israeli barrage, WION's Anas Malik was on the ground. He spoke to Lebanese civilians who had to flee, abandoning their homes.
I am from the south of Lebanon, from Nabatieh Haruf, and now I am not working. I cannot. I've been here at this refugee compound for 40 days now. I came to Beirut because my hometown is not safe. Even my own home was attacked and was hit by Israel. My house was destroyed. My brother was injured.
It was not just Beirut. The nation's cultural heritage sites were also not spared. Baalbek, which hosts Ottoman-era buildings and Roman structures, is now in ruins. WION visited Lebanon's third largest city of Sidon.
We're in Sidon or Saida, which is in the south of Lebanon. From here, it's about 120 kilometers to the nearest Israeli border. But this place continues to be targeted. The death toll from Israeli air raids since the 7th of October last year into today, as of today, stands over 3,000 at 3,006. That's what the Lebanese Health Ministry has confirmed.
In a retaliatory attack this week, Hezbollah launched hundreds of its missiles and drones at Israeli bases. In one such attack, the group claimed striking Israeli military base near International Airport in Tel Aviv. Hezbollah also claimed it targeted a naval base near the Israeli city of Haifa with missiles. The second such attack in less than 24 hours on Friday. The group's chief is clear that there will be a ceasefire only when Israel stops the war.
We do not build an expectation of stopping the aggression through political action, and we will not beg for the aggression to end. We will make the enemy be the one asking for an end to the aggression.
Lebanese information minister told WION that both the parliament and Hezbollah groups are on the same page.
Actual commandment of Hezbollah is also demanding a ceasefire. And today the chief of the party, Sheikh Naim Asim, said the same. And as you know also, the government of Lebanon is also asking for a ceasefire, which he has the approval of Hezbollah for that.
The Lebanese government says it is not hopeful that a ceasefire will take place anytime soon, but it is counting on the Trump administration to put an end to this war.
5 weeks into the war on Lebanon by Israel, Israel is yet to make any territorial gains, despite of having over 50,000 soldiers deployed. It is also pertinent to mention that despite wiping off 37 towns and 40,000 homes, Hezbollah doesn't seem to be defeated or undeterred, despite Israeli airstrikes that continue even now around Beirut, in the south of Lebanon, and in the vicinity of the capital. Hezbollah very much holds the ground. Anas Malik for the West Asia Post on WION in Beirut in Lebanon. For WION, World is One.
Let us go to the GCC region and let us talk about the oil-rich country Qatar. Qatar recently overwhelmingly voted to end its elections for legislative seats. Now, this happened while the world was concerned with the US polls and the elections. In the following report, we talk about Qatar's short-lived democratic experiment. Take a look.
On the day when the Americans voted in arguably the most consequential presidential election in modern American history, the Gulf state of Qatar, a monarchy, ended its brief flirtation with democracy. In Tuesday's referendum, 84% of eligible voters among the roughly 380,000 Qatari nationals cast their ballots on constitutional changes that would scrap the Legislative Council polls. The Qatari establishment appeared confident of a return to status quo, when the Shura Council would again be wholly appointed by Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani.
What is best for us today is appointing Shura Council members, and that is what we voted for. I believe that it will not be a majority vote, but it may even reach a unanimous vote on constitutional amendment, and God willing, it will be better in the future.
The next day, Qatari officials confirmed that the Tuesday's referendum had passed with more than 90% of the vote. The gas-rich peninsula country had organized its first and only elections for 30 to 45 seats in the Shura Council in 2021, just 1 year before the Football World Cup was held in Qatar under intense international scrutiny. In addition to the one-off legislative poll, Qatar has also held municipal elections every 4 years since 1999. However, the rare polls for Shura Council had prompted divisions, as only descendants of Qataris who were citizens in 1930s were eligible to vote and run. Another contentious issue was the mapping of the constituencies along tribal lines, which resulted in some members of the sizable Al-Mura tribe being excluded from the electoral process. The issue was debated fiercely online and even sporadic protests were reported at the time. In an indication of things to come, last October, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim had labelled the 2021 polls an experiment and proposed the constitutional changes.
Of course, the discussion about these amendments and the controversy over them is an old one. Since the start of the previous council, of course, the process was completed in a short time, but the discussions or deliberations around it were certainly going on for a long time.
An advisory body with limited powers, the Shura Council can propose legislation, approve the budget and recall ministers, albeit subject to a veto by the Emir. Subsequent to Tuesday's referendum, Sheikh Tamim will now resume appointing all members of the Shura Council. But not everyone is complaining and are even willing to overlook the problems within the Qatari royal family over the previous election.
Really, this thing is sometimes it's happening, It's a human, and sometimes it's happening. Our government is looking forward to do the right thing, to correct which one is not correct, to keep it in the correct way, for the country and for the people and for the future.
Among other changes approved is a move to allow all Qataris, including naturalized citizens, to hold ministerial office, a right hitherto reserved for Qatari-born nationals only. While the ruling establishment in Qatar claims to celebrate the values of unity and justice, a brief and limited experiment in democracy has ended, further strengthening Sheikh Tamim's tight grip on power.
Escalating tensions between Iran and Israel since last October have raised concerns over the supply markets in the Gulf. Now, the Emirates opened its annual oil and gas summit, making key decisions about the global market. Watch.
On the 4th of November, the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, opened its annual oil and gas summit. The event aimed to boost energy output despite the unpredictability of global prices. The UAE also shared plans to increase its oil production to 5 million barrels per day in the coming years.
The initiatives that we're actually ongoing now, collaborating with our partners to really kind of increase the production of gas in Egypt and of oil, and at the same time of also how we can help our partners through collaborations with our partners in the region to be able to monetize their gas reserves, leveraging the infrastructure which exists in Egypt for the benefit of of the whole energy population from demand.
The Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference came after the UAE hosted the United Nations COP28 climate talks just last year. Those talks ended with approval by nearly 200 countries to shift away from planet-warming fossil fuels. This was the first time the conference had made such a crucial pledge. Sultan Al Jaber, who heads the state-run Abu Dhabi National Oil Corporation, or ADNOC, pointed to artificial intelligence as a future technology that could be deployed by the energy industry. The UAE, an oil producer and long-time security partner of the United States, is hoping for access to American technology to build its own advanced tech industry.
We need investment in the power sector to grow to at least $1.5 trillion per year. We need enabling policies and regulations to accelerate and protect those investments. And we need to leverage AI's potential to optimize energy sources and predict peaks and dips in demand and enhance battery storage.
The UAE is pouring billions of dollars into artificial intelligence and defining how AI will fit into the global energy transition.
Israel has terminated its contract with the UN Aid Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA. The chief of the agency said that it is the darkest hour that the agency is witnessing, as millions of Palestinian refugees rely on it in the war-torn region.
A very large percentage of Gaza's population holds refugee status. These people, regarding education, healthcare, and all other services that were provided to them, will be removed, and the Palestinians will be deprived from it. This is considered a death sentence for Palestinians inside the Gaza Strip.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, always bringing you the most recent updates, news, and ground reports from the world's most volatile region. I am your host, Ghadi Francis, signing off from Beirut, Lebanon. For more global news, keep on watching WION World is One.
Well, I feel it's a wonderful idea, fantastic. It's a breakthrough because people can learn a lot. All the viewers from the long experience and the successful strategies of these business masters that you are going to cover. I'm sure this program would be loved by all and everybody, those who are interested in learning from successful business masters.
This week on Tech It Out, we show you the world's first wooden satellite. We tell you how Taiwan is preparing the next generation of drone developers. And find out why teenagers want to ditch their smartphones. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing. Hello and welcome to this Friday edition of Race to Power. I'm Ananya Datta. Let's start talking politics. Tonight we are going to perform a post-mortem of what led to the defeat of Kamala Harris. We have two important voices joining us from America to decode it for you. Also, Sri Lankan President played his first game pool just days into the job. He announced parliamentary elections on November 14th. So as he looks for economic recovery, will he get the mandate to do that? We have a report coming in shortly. This period in US politics is often called the lull period, where the president becomes a lame duck, the people slowly move from the election chaos to the festive season, and the incoming president is still rejoicing in his victory. But amid this sits a defeated Democratic Party, and within it, Kamala Harris. We are going to decode 5 reasons why the Democratic Party lost this election. 107. That's how many days Harris was tasked to do 3 major things. 1. Say yes to become the Democratic presidential nominee. 2. Put together a national campaign team. And 3. Win the election. No one in the history of US elections has had to do these 3 Herculean tasks in the matter of just 100 days. Harris took the campaign baton from Biden at a time when he was increasingly unpopular, not only as a presidential